Let's move on to the ACC. The ACC, the question for me is, am I buying the Florida State hype? That's the question. Because there's a lot of hype out there about Florida State. And listen, I get it. And they're likely going to win a lot of games this season. They've got a talented roster. They did really well in the transfer portal. They've recruited well. In an ACC that isn't particularly strong top to bottom, are they ready? Yeah, they're ready. The problem is that you got to be ready to beat Clemson because Clemson runs the conference. Have they done enough to overtake Clemson? I'm not sure. They didn't last year when they had them at home. Why should we be so quick to just say like, hey, Florida State. I love Florida State. I can like them. They're in my top 10. But I can accurately say they aren't to the level of even two of their first four opponents, one of them being a conference opponent in Clemson, that game at Clemson. Last year, Clemson had what they consider to be a bad year. They still won 11 games, including going 9-0 in the ACC, 9-0. They beat Florida State on the road in Tallahassee, won the ACC, and Florida State had a great year, won 10 games, and still lost 3 in the conference when the season was still like in suspense, if you will. Remember their win streak, Florida State's win streak? Happened late, like the last 6. Those teams were not good. You know how I know that? Blowout win against Georgia Tech, 5-7. Miami, 5-7. Syracuse, 7-6, but they lost 6 of their last 7. Louisiana Lafayette, they were sub 500. And they had 1-score wins over Florida, sub 500 team, 6-7, and a sub 500 Oklahoma, 6-7 to finish. By the way, that Oklahoma game, that was a 1-score game late. 1-score win over Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't been sub 500 since John Blake. And you want me to anoint Florida State because they beat the worst Oklahoma team since John Blake? I can't do that. Not with Clemson still there. Not with Clemson returning their quarterback in Clay Klubnik. Not with Clemson getting better on defense. Not with Will Shipley still being there. Not with the game being in Clemson, in particular in the first month of the season. And not with Garrett Riley being the offensive coordinator at Clemson. This is the biggest move that nobody is talking about in college football. Name the last time, and I said this last week on the Top 25 podcast, name the last time that a Riley has had a poor quarterback season. Yeah, exactly. We're all waiting because it has not happened. Garrett Riley did a sensational job with Max Duggan last year, who wasn't even the starter to begin the year with TCU. When they've got a run game and a guy like Kendry Miller, like he had at TCU, and now he's going to have Will Shipley, he can be dynamic in the run game and the screen game. They're going to be able to throw the ball. Klubnik is a really good player. Probably should have been playing the majority of the time last year. This is why Clemson is going to run the ACC. This is why I have them rated ahead of Florida State, and this is why it's not time for the Seminoles yet. I think the Seminoles are going to be a really good team. I've got them in the top 10. So this is not about me hating on Florida State. This is me accurately looking at the LSU matchup, which does not favor Florida State, and the Clemson matchup, which does not favor Florida State. And I can accurately say Florida State is going to be 2-2 in their first 4 games. Now, they may go on to win 10 games, but it's not going to be a team that really competes for an ACC title. But here is where it gets interesting. ACC doing away with divisions, so they could get a rematch against Clemson. And then it comes down to health, namely quarterback. Are your quarterbacks healthy? Are your best players healthy? That's going to be a fascinating deal. Clemson's roster is still better than that roster at Florida State. In particular, when you look at the blue chip ratio, Clemson still got the nod. So, buying the Florida State hype, that's a no. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.